The crisp morning air buzzed with the familiar energy of another school day. You stepped out of your house, adjusting your backpack as your mom followed behind, making sure you had everything. Across the small gap between your houses, Mrs. John was already outside, arms crossed, tapping her foot impatiently. John Jungkook, how long will you take? You're getting late. She called into the house, exasperation dripping from her voice. A smirk tugged at your lips as you turned to her, tilting your head slightly. Good morning, Auntie. You greeted sweetly, knowing she adored you despite your ongoing war with her son. Her face instantly softened and she smiled warmly. Good morning, dear. How are you today? You took a step closer, a mischievous glint in your eyes. Oh, I'm great, but you know, Auntie. You paused dramatically, making sure she was paying attention. I had the weirdest dream last night. Mrs. John raised an eyebrow. Oh, what was it about? You placed a hand over your chest, feigning seriousness. I dreamed that Jungkook actually woke up on time and wasn't the reason we were late to school. A dramatic gasp escaped Mrs. John's lips before she burst into laughter. Now that would be a miracle. Stop it, Ryan. If he listens, he will be mad. Three of you laughed, then you noticed him coming out. Auntie, you won't believe what your son did yesterday. Jungkook, just stepping out of his house, froze mid-step. His sleepy eyes shot open in pure horror as you turned to Mrs. John with the most dramatic expression. Mrs. John, who had just been casually sipping her morning tea, perked up. What happened, dear? Jungkook's stomach dropped. What are you yapping now, huh? Mom, whatever she's about to say, don't believe her. But it was too late. Mrs. John had already given you her full attention, completely ignoring Jungkook. Auntie, listen to me. You placed a hand over your chest as if this was the most tragic news of the century. Your son, your precious, innocent son, got into a fight yesterday. Mrs. John's eyes widened. What? Jungkook felt his soul leave his body. Mom, she's lying. He was with those bad boys from school. You continued dramatically ignoring Jungkook's protests. And not just hanging out with them, Auntie. He's their leader. Mrs. John gasped so loudly that Jungkook nearly choked on air. John, Jungkook? Mom, no. It's not true, I swear. Jungkook pleaded, pure panic in his eyes. Mrs. John turned to him with a glare that could kill. You are getting into fights now? And leading gangs? Is this what I raised you for? You crossed your arms smirking at Jungkook as he stood there frozen in terror. Auntie, it was terrifying. He was dodging punches like a gangster. I feared for my life. Jungkook snapped his head towards you. You were cheering. Mrs. John gasped again. So it's true. No, she's making it sound worse than it was. Mrs. John sighed heavily, shaking her head. Jungkook, I'm disappointed in you. Jungkook groaned, rubbing his face. Mom, please, why do you believe everything she says? Because Ryan would never lie to me. That's right, Auntie. I just want what's best for Jungkook. Jungkook clenched his jaw, twitching his hands. He looked at you with a murderous glare, and you, of course, took the opportunity to stick your tongue out at him. You are so dead, he muttered under his breath. Then act innocent, John. You whispered back with a smirk. Oh, Jungkook groaned. Okay, enough now. Your mom interrupted, shaking her head in amusement. We'll hear the rest of this drama later. You two are getting late for school. You huffed and grabbed your bag while Jungkook rolled his eyes, shoving his hands into his pockets. With one last glare at you, he stormed off towards his bike. Mrs. John sighed as she watched you both walk away, bickering under your breaths like an old married couple. She shook her head and turned to your mom. I swear I always imagined Ryan as my daughter-in-law one day, but after seeing this daily chaos, the chances are getting very low. Your mom chuckles, sipping her tea. Oh, don't worry, bestie. They'll turn into the greatest lovers with time. Just wait and watch. Mrs. John rolled her eyes with a smile. If they don't kill each other first. The moment you both reached the school gates, Jungkook wasted no time. 1 second you were casually walking towards your class, and the next you were trapped. Jungkook's arm slammed against the locker beside your head, caging you in. His jaw clenched and his dark eyes burned with pure irritation. What is your problem, huh? Do you wake up every morning just to report me to my mom? Is this like your hobby now? You blinked up at him innocently. Oh, I don't know, John. Maybe if you didn't give me so much material to work with, I wouldn't have to. Jungkook scoffed. Material? Are you kidding me? You straight up lied. You tilted your head with a smirk. I didn't lie. I just exaggerated the truth. His eyes twitched. Exaggerated? You said I was leading a gang. You grinned. And weren't you? Jungkook groaned, running a hand through his hair in frustration. No whine. I was just, you know what? I can't deal with you. He pushed off the locker and turned to walk away, but you couldn't resist. Aw, John, are you giving up already? I thought you were tougher than this. Jungkook stopped dead in his tracks. He turned back slowly, a smirk playing on his lips. Oh, you wanna play, huh? Before you could react, he lunged forward, this time grabbing your wrist and pulling you down the hallway. Yeah, let me go, you psycho. You protested, struggling against his grip. Not until you admit you are the most annoying person on this planet. He shot back, dragging you past students who were now watching with entertained expressions. Never, you yelled, stomping your foot. Jungkook stopped abruptly, making you bump into his chest. He looked down at you with narrowed eyes. Fine, then get ready for war, Ryan, because I'm not letting you win this time. Just then, Ryan, Jungkook, both of you froze. Standing in front of you was your homeroom teacher, arms crossed, looking absolutely done with your nonsense. Jungkook immediately let go of you and you quickly fixed your uniform, both of you suddenly looking very innocent. How many times do I have to tell you to stop causing a scene before school even starts? Do you think this is a playground? Jungkook opened his mouth. Technically, shut up, John. You hissed, stepping on his foot. Oh, what was that for? The teacher sighed. Enough, both of you. Inside now. Jungkook glared at you as you both shuffled into the classroom. You see what you did? You gave him a sweet smile. Oops. And just like that, another school day of chaos had begun. The day had been long, and after an exhausting math class, you decided to take the longer route behind the school building for some fresh air. That's when you saw it. Jungkook, leaning casual against the wall, a cigarette between his fingers, taking a slow drag like he was in some kind of rebellious movie. Your jaw dropped. Jungkook? Jungkook nearly choked on the smoke, coughing violently before turning to you in absolute horror. Yeah, what the hell? Why are you screaming and what? Why do you follow me everywhere, huh? You stomped towards him, hands on your hips. Oh, so now you smoke as well, huh? Jungkook hid the cigarette behind him. Why don't you mind your own business, huh? You smirked. Oh, you are so done for. Just wait until Auntie hears about this. His eyes widened. No, Ryan. Let's talk about this. There's nothing to talk about, John. You're literally smoking, you exclaimed, pointing at the cigarette still in his hand. Panic flashed in his eyes as he quickly threw it to the ground, stomping on it. Listen, you little motor mouth. How about we pretend this never happened? You smirked. Oh, so now you are scared? Jungkook exhaled sharply, pinching the bridge of his nose. I swear you are like my mom's personal spy. Are you working for her? Is she paying you to snitch on me? You gasped dramatically. Auntie would never have to pay me. Watching you suffer is reward enough. Jungkook groaned. Why can't you just mind your own business? You crossed your arms because this motor mouth of mine is going to get you in serious trouble, John. He huffed, stepping closer until he was right in front of you, eyes narrowed. I wish you would just lose your voice. You scoffed, and I wish you would lose your bad boy attitude. But here we are. Jungkook rubbed his temples, muttering something under his breath before finally giving up. Fine. What do you want to keep your mouth shut? Gasped in fake offense. Are you trying to bribe me? He gritted his teeth, obviously. You thought for a second before grinning mischievously. Carry my books for a week and I won't say a word. Jungkook stared at you in disbelief. You are blackmailing me. You shrugged. No, I'm just being smart. Jungkook groaned again. Ugh, I hate you. You winked. Hate you more, John. And just like that, you walked off, leaving Jungkook standing there, already regretting all his life choices. I'm really dead if she opens her mouth. God, please help me. The day had been going almost fine except for the fact that Jungkook was walking beside you, grumbling under his breath as he carried your books like some unwilling servant. This is ridiculous, he muttered, glaring at the stack of books in his arms. You are taking full advantage of me, you smirked. Well, it's your own fault for getting caught smoking, John. Actions have consequences. Jungkook scoffed. You are enjoying this way too much. Oh, absolutely. This is the best week of my life. He rolled his eyes. I swear, if I drop these books on your foot, I won't even feel bad. You gasped, faking offense. John Jungkook, how dare you threaten me? With a mischievous smirk, he pretended to drop one, making you flinch. He scowled, smacking his arm. Stop messing around. He laughed. What, scared? You were so. Before you could finish, Jungkook playfully nudged you, but it made you stumble back. Just as the car turned the corner, Jungkook's eyes widened. Why in? The next thing you knew, the car's brakes screeched and you felt yourself hitting the ground. The moment your body hit the ground, everything seemed to happen in slow motion. Jungkook stood frozen, his eyes wide in horror as he processed what had just happened. Oh my god, oh my god. He mumbled, crouching beside you, eyes frantic. Are you okay? Where does it hurt? Can you breathe? Are you dying? You didn't say anything and that scared him because you would have been yelling at him, but now you were silent. Ryan, his voice shook. Hey, say something. You blinked up at him, clutching your scrapped knee, but you didn't say a word. Panic immediately set in. Ryan, he tried again, his voice rising. Come on, say something. Yell at me, call me an idiot, do something. But you just stared at him, your lips pressed tightly together, and that's when Jungkook lost it. Oh my god, you're not talking? His heart pounded wildly as he gently grabbed her face. Okay, okay, deep breaths. Maybe you're just in shock. That's it, right? You didn't respond. Jungkook's stomach dropped. Oh my god, what do I do? What do I do? He rambled, looking around in desperation before making the only logical decision. We are going to the hospital. And just like that, Jungkook scooped you up in his arms and sprinted like his life depended on it. At the hospital, Jungkook paced frantically outside the room, his hands tugging at his hair. The image of you not speaking haunted him. You never shut up, ever. The silence, it was terrifying. The doctor finally walked out. Jungkook rushed forward. Doctor, please tell me, what's wrong? She's not talking. She didn't say a single word since the accident. The doctor sighed, shaking his head. That's because she lost her voice. Jungkook froze. What? I'm afraid the accident caused trauma to her vocal cords. She won't be able to speak anymore. Jungkook staggered back. No, no, that's not possible. The doctor gave him a pitying look. I'm sorry she won't be able to talk, possibly for the rest of her life. Jungkook's breathing grew uneven as he turned towards the door. He felt like he was going to be sick. You were sitting on the hospital bed, your face carefully blank, but inside you were dying trying to hold back your laughter. Jungkook burst into the room, his face pure devastation. Ryan, his voice cracked. He rushed to your side, his hands gripping yours. Please say something. You looked at him with wide, innocent eyes and stayed silent. Jungkook's heart shattered. Just try, he begged. Say anything. Yell at me for being an idiot. Tell me you hate me. Call me a smoking delinquent. Just say something. Nothing. Jungkook's throat tightened. He sat down, gripping his head. No, this is all my fault. His voice trembled. If I hadn't pushed you, if I hadn't been messing around, God, how am I going to tell your parents? What if they never forgive me? He almost broke character at how utterly wrecked he looked. But nope, you were committed to this prank. Jungkook stood outside your house, his hands stuffed in his pockets, watching you walk inside. You paused at the door, throwing him one last glance, smug, amused, victorious. Then, without another word, you walked inside. Jungkook let out a long breath, running a hand through his hair. His chest felt heavy. He turned around, walking to his house, but no matter how much he tried to distract himself, the guilt ate him alive. Later that evening, your mom was just setting the dinner table when the doorbell rang. She opened it, surprised to find Jungkook standing there. Jungkook? She blinked. Are you okay, dear? You look. Oh my god, you look like you have been crying. Did Ryan do something? Jungkook sniffled, shaking his head. No, auntie. I'm here to apologize. Your mom frowned. Apologize? For what? And then out of nowhere, Jungkook broke down completely. I'm so sorry, auntie. His voice cracked as tears welled up in his eyes. I didn't mean for this to happen. It's my fault. Ryan lost her voice because of me. Your mom's confusion deepened. What? I pushed her, not hard, but then she got hit by a car and she didn't say anything, and now the doctor says she might never speak again. Your mom's mouth parted in shock, completely unaware of the chaos that had unfolded earlier. Meanwhile, you were standing at the top of the stairs, biting your lip to hold back your laughter. Jungkook kept going. I'll take responsibility, auntie. I promise I'll take care of her forever. I'll marry her. I'll become the perfect man for her. I swear I'll never fight with her again. I'll cherish her every single day. At that, he couldn't hold it in anymore. Oh, is that the boy next door? You called out, feigning innocent curiosity. Is he crying because he wants to marry me so badly? Jungkook froze. His head snapped up, his tear-streaked face filled with pure shock. Your mom looked at you. Ryan, what's going on? Did you do something? What happened that he's crying? Jungkook was there shocked while you smiled looking at him. I didn't do anything, but I think he finally want to make peace with me, right, John? You can talk? Your mom looked between you both, still clueless. Can someone explain what's happening? When did Ryan hit by a car? She says she scratched her knee while running. Jungkook walked towards you. So it was your plan, huh? You didn't lose your voice. You shrugged your shoulders. Do you really think anything can stop me from talking? But what was that, huh? Were you worried for me? Do you regret so much that you accepted you'll change and marry me? Jungkook blinked at you, then blinked again. Then, with zero warning, he wrapped his arms around you. You stiffened, caught completely off guard. Your mom and Mrs. John, who had walked in just in time to witness the scene, gawked at the sight. I want to know what's happening. Mrs. John came near, locking her arms with her. I think we should leave them alone. Your mom looked at her, but Come over to my house, I'll explain. Mrs. John sighed, leading your mom away. And just like that, you were left alone with Jungkook, who was still clinging to you. John, you finally muttered. You are hugging me. Do you know that? Jungkook squeezed you tighter. You idiot chatterbox. Why did you do that, huh? He murmured, his voice low and frustrated. A teasing smirk curled on your lips. I just granted you your wish, John. You wanted me to lose my voice, right? Then why did you get so panicked? Jungkook froze, then suddenly he yanked back. His eyes wide with disbelief. You, he pointed at you, his breath uneven. You're going to be the death of me. Before you could open your mouth to say something witty, he grabbed your face and kissed you. Your mind blacked out. It was soft yet desperate, lingering just long enough to leave your lips tingling. Your eyes were wide open, your brain still trying to process what just happened. Jungkook pulled back, his eyes searching yours. Yeah, you gasped, finally finding your voice, but before you could yell, he kissed you again. This time, it was firmer, more determined. You stumbled slightly, gripping his hoodie as your heart pounded. He pulled back once more, staring at your stunned face, clearly enjoying your speechless expression. What's wrong with you? You finally managed to say, your voice coming out a little breathless. Jungkook smirked, and then, before you could say another word, he kissed you again. Completely flustered, you slapped a hand over your mouth, backing away. Stop that! Jungkook chuckled, his eyes dark with amusement. Now I know how to shut you up, chatterbox. Your face burned. You jerk! Too late, you already agreed to marry me. He winked, your jaw dropped. I did not. Well, you didn't reject me either. You are impossible. Jungkook only smirked, shoving his hands into his pockets. Looks like I finally won. You glared at him, still covering your lips, but the small smile creeping onto your face betrayed you. The sun was shining, the birds were chirping, and the air was crisp, yet again the perfect morning. But this time something felt different. As you stepped outside, you were met with knowing smiles from your mother and Mrs. John. Their eyes twinkling with amusement, you squinted at them suspiciously. Why are you both smiling like that? You asked, crossing your arms. Your mom chuckled. Oh, nothing, dear. Just enjoying the blooming romance in the neighborhood. What? Before you could respond, your arch nemesis turned kisser walked out of his house, John Jungkook, and the moment his eyes landed on you, he did something unbelievable. He smiled, then he winked. You felt your soul leave your body. Did you just? Good morning, princess. He greeted smoothly, acting as if winking at you was the most natural thing in the world. Your jaw dropped. Don't tell me you've officially lost your mind, Jungkook. Your mom's chuckled behind you. Mrs. John sighed dramatically. Ah, young love. Jungkook smirked. Better get used to it, chatterbox. Your brain was still trying to reboot when you suddenly remembered something. You turned to Mrs. John with a sweet smile. Auntie, do you know that I caught your son? Jungkook's eyes widened in horror. Before you could even finish your sentence, he teleported to your side, clamping a hand over your mouth. Haha, nothing, Mom, he said in a suspiciously loud voice, his grip on your mouth tightening as you struggled. She has the habit of yapping, never stop. Mrs. John raised an eyebrow. John, let her speak. Jungkook panicked. No need, Mom, nothing important. He laughed nervously, then turned to you with a sickeningly sweet smile. Right, princess? You muffled screams said otherwise. I said right, princess? His grip tightened. Mrs. John sighed. Jungkook, what did you do now? Jungkook gritted his teeth, yanked his hand away from your mouth, and before you could speak, he threw an arm around your shoulders. You know what? Let's go, princess. I'll give you a ride on my bike today. You blinked. Your bike? Yep, let's go before you accidentally ruin my life again. Before we are late. And just like that, Jungkook dragged you away, completely ignoring his mother's glare. Your moms watched the scene unfold, their laughter echoing behind you. They are never going to stop, are they? Your mom mused. Mrs. John sighed with a fond smile. No, and I can already see it. They're going to drive each other crazy for a lifetime. Your mom giggled. They are practically inseparable. Meanwhile, you were furious, trying to break free from Jungkook's hold. Yeah, John, you can't just. Shh, motor mouth, he whispered smugly. Hold on tight, princess. It's going to be a fun ride.